Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Duolingo. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been tracking this idea of a large leading diagonal to have formed this 5-wave move to the upside within the wave 1. We are now tracking the 3-wave correction in the wave 2 into the area of support between the $235.6 all the way down to the $97 level, and as long as we hold here the 78.6% retracement, we can still look with high likelihood for continuation to new all-time highs in a reversal, within at least another 5-wave move to the upside. Now I say at least because it is true that this could form a larger 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th, but there could also be only an ABC structure which would also fulfill the current expectations. And that could also mark a more significant top. Now, we don't need to worry too much about those expectations right now, because currently we are still within the correction. We are still within the area of support and likely going to extend lower. Now, in this correction in the wave 2, we are tracking a zigzag correction. We have here an ABC pattern, meaning that we are looking to form a 5-wave move to the downside within this latest push, within this last wave. And there are a couple of interpretations within which we could form this structure. So here in the previous video, I provided you a couple of areas of resistance. We didn't manage to break any one of them. And yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise to you if you have been following this channel and tracking this stock with us, because we were looking for continuation lower with high likelihood. We had a couple of scenarios that would have allowed for the continuation lower, and we would have needed to break both of them, both areas of resistance, for a signal that a bottom may have been in place, a more significant low may have formed within this wave 2. Now clearly this isn't the case. Even within the idea of an impulse, we did get held back by the levels of resistance. So here we are tracking a series of 1, 2 setups basically, and then this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th. We did head into the area of resistance for the wave 4, but we didn't manage to break it. We headed into the last level at the $212. Now, since within this structure we are tracking a larger impulse within this 5th wave, we would also expect to form quite an extension in this area. And keep in mind, this would only build the internal 5th wave to the downside. Once this is complete, we could expect another 4th and a 5th, and then another 4-5 pattern to complete the entire wave C. Now, while this is a realistic expectation we could have, and that we need to break by breaking levels of resistance, there is an alternative. There is a scenario that allows an early completion of this pattern to the downside within the wave C, and that is here in the orange interpretation, where we are basically tracking an ending diagonal, meaning we have a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, a 3rd wave down, 4th wave up, and now we are tracking the last wave to the downside. Within this structure, we only need to build here the ABC within the 5th wave, and we would have a full count. We wouldn't need any additional lows. And to be honest, I might even slightly prefer this interpretation, because also within this wave 4, in the initial wave A to the upside, we have pushed perfectly into the 23.6% retracement. We got rejected, We do seem to be interacting better with this interpretation, because afterwards in the wave C, we pushed into the ideal target for wave 4 even. We got rejected into the 5th wave to the downside. We completed this correction into the ideal target. And this interpretation allows us to look for a slightly earlier bottom. Well, we say slightly, but it could be substantially earlier that this pattern completes within the orange scenario. Now remember, within the orange scenario, we are only tracking an ABC structure within the 5th wave, because overall we are tracking an ending diagonal within the wave C, meaning each of the subwaves is expected to form only an ABC structure. If I see a 5-wave move to the downside within this area, I will be looking for continuation lower. I will be looking for the yellow scenario, which was tracking still continuation lower, or I could track the orange interpretation as well, but even that would imply continuation lower. We don't want to see the 5-wave move to the downside within this area if we want to see an early bottom within this wave 2 in yellow. Now, in this structure, we are now focusing on the 5th wave, whether it is in the yellow interpretation, whether it is in the orange interpretation. We are looking for this structure within which, in yellow, we are tracking an impulse. At the moment, here we have a 1, 2 setup, and I'm looking for the 3rd wave to the downside. We can even look for an ideal target for such a pattern, and that would be the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the $146 level, but based on the internal count that I'm managing within this structure in the wave 3, I could very easily see this pattern surpass it. Now, clearly it doesn't need to, but I could easily see it because here we have a double 1-2-1-2 setup, and even here another 1-2 setup, a third wave down, a fourth wave up that could have formed the top, not necessarily, but then I would expect still a fifth wave to complete only an internal wave 3, and then another 4-5 and another 4-5 to complete the entire wave 3 to the downside. This could very easily take us to the 161.8% extension at around the $139 level, let's say the $140 level, which is very much in line with the larger area of support, the larger level, the 61.8% retracement, yeah? Now, this needs to hold, or to be held rather, by relevant areas of resistance. This would need to form within an impulse, meaning that it must not break here above the 50% retracement. If we break above the $167.4 level, it would be a strong signal that this structure is not going to manage to form an impulse within this area, and this is applicable as long as we don't form here the fifth wave to the downside. Yeah, if we actually form the fifth wave, we would then have an updated area of support to track, because we would have that in the larger wave 3 complete. We would need to track a larger 1, 2, 3 and a larger wave 4. Now, in the current conditions, I can also track here the orange interpretation. Remember, we are looking for an ABC structure within that scenario. In such a case, in the orange interpretation, we could also build the exact same structure we are tracking within the wave 3 in yellow. That would not be a problem. Wave C could be an impulse. Yeah, we could be tracking the same scenario, the same structure. But it does also allow a slightly higher retracement level, because within the wave C, again, we could be tracking an ending diagonal, the same we are on the larger time frame, in which case I could consider the third wave, the large wave 3 of the wave C, to be complete and look for a fourth and a fifth. Yeah, in this interpretation, let me actually remove here the yellow scenario. We could be considering something like a 1, 2, 3, fourth and the fifth. In this case, we only need here the fourth and the fifth to complete the entire structure to the downside, to the point that we would need no additional lows once it is complete. Now, in such a case, we would have a slightly different area of resistance instead. We would be watching still the 23.6% retracement, but all the way up to the 61.8% retracement, meaning the last level of resistance would sit here at the $173.8. And if we actually manage to break even above that, well, we would need to start considering other scenarios. But right now, to be honest, I don't find that to be a high likelihood. I don't believe necessarily we should spend too much time thinking about other interpretations. Let's wait for the break above the 61.8% retracement before we look for larger patterns. We might even form an early bottom within the wave 2 in yellow and look for an initial 5-wave move to the upside within this area. But until we either have a full count or the signal, the 5-wave structure to the upside, I would still be extremely careful on this chart. Although I do want to mention, from a large time frame perspective, we are decently deep within the area of support. We may get here to the 61.8% retracement. It also is very close to significant structural support at these levels, yeah, here between the $146 all the way down to the $140. Yeah, we have here very significant structural support within this area that could be used for accumulation. The entire area of support could be used for accumulation, but at the moment this pattern isn't completely clearly full. Yeah, it does allow extensions lower even within the orange interpretation. Even within the orange interpretation, in fact, it prefers slight lower extensions, at least a fourth and a fifth within this area. We might already be building it, to be honest. I wouldn't look too much into it, but yeah, I would be tracking an ABC structure even within the internal fifth wave in this area. But yeah, don't look too much into it, because those small time frames are so fragile, and yeah, they are going to throw us off. They are going to morph into different patterns very often. But yeah, for now we have these two interpretations. So this one in orange, we have here the levels. Let me even add this into a separate group to clearly define them. Yeah, we have the resistance up to the $173.8, and then the yellow interpretation with the resistance up to the $167.4. And remember, if we manage to follow through in this wave 3 in yellow, it could still be the wave C in orange. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.